Hi, my name is Allison McPherson, and I'm here today to talk to you about workplace bullying or schoolyard bullying. Um, Workplace bullying or schoolyard bullying in the workplace has been an ongoing epidemic around the globe. Sadly, when the word bully is mentioned, the thought that generally comes to mind is that of physical mistreatment. Despite what the general population might believe, there are thousands of ways that mean spirited people can psychologically bully their victims, and for thousands of reasons, and it's all happening deep inside the core of the places that we frequent on a daily basis, our jobs. The biggest major concern is the fact that the lack of attention to the concept of workplace dignity in American organizational structures has supported and even encouraged both casual and severe forms of harassment that our workplace laws do not currently cover. Gina Vega and Deborah R. Cromer define workplace bullying as the pattern of destructive and generally deliberately demeaning of coworkers or subordinates that reminds us of the activities of the schoolyard bully. Gary and Ruth Namey define it as the repeated health-harming mistreatment of a person by one or more workers that takes the form of verbal abuse, conduct or behaviors that are threatening, intimidating, or humiliating, sabotage that prevents work from getting done, or some combination of the three. Perpetrators are bullies. Those on the receiving end are the targets. As Alan Caviola and Neil Lavender write from their book Toxic Coworkers, human relationships are absolutely the most profound, multifaceted, and meaningful experiences that we will ever have during our existence, including the good and the bad. Clearly in life, we're going to encounter numerous personality types and disorders that can cause people to behave in different ways. While good relationships make us shine and feel loved and can bring out the best in us, adversely, negative interactions with others rob us of our self-esteem, belittle us, and make us question our own character. This can all be a normal part of life as we're not meant to get along with everyone perfectly, although most of the energy that we expend during our typical day is in the pursuit of, maintenance, and the enjoyment of good relationships. When we attempt to connect with and form good relationships and then get rejected, it causes us to feel wounded, disheartened, embarrassed, and self-conscious. It is hard enough on the outside of the workplace to establish significant, long-lasting, trusting relationships. When those don't work out, we move on in whichever ways that we choose. Trying to establish similar professional relationships deep within the bowels of our workplaces can sometimes find us more challenged as we're forced to navigate through the mysterious and unspoken rules of the corporate greed. Unfortunately, the act of workplace bullying spawns a costly, psychologically unhealthy, and toxic environment filled with personality disorders, leaving victims without much legal recourse. Today, I would like to discuss with you some of the problems with workplace bullying, the most popular personality types that perpetrators look for, and the psychological damage that they cause. And lastly, we will discuss the need for a law to be enacted against psychological harm in the workplace in the same way that OSHA protects us against physical harm in the workplace. One of the most important thoughts to ponder is the idea that individuals with personality disorders experience workplace problems primarily when jobs require interpersonal interaction. Naturally, when there's a greater need for relationships or teamwork, there is going to be an increased potential for conflict. Between office politics, gossiping cliques, and bullies, it's no wonder why we run into droves of people who just can't seem to get it right. Look at the bully who enjoys intimidating you so intricately that nobody would ever notice until you call them on it, making you look like the fool because only you and the bully know the truth. These are the types of bullies that like to control you through fear. Then another example of bullying is the constant pessimistic critic who is determined to abate your capabilities, taking away your confidence, managing to find every single one of your errors as they point them out to you, exactly how an elementary teacher would scold a kindergartner. All of this personality messiness can cause people to be incapable of getting along with others in a productive manner, and is so corrosive and detrimental to the person's being that it can clearly be a sign that chances are these perpetrators fall into one or more of the 10 personality disorder types. In the psychological world, the DSM-4 is described as the psychological Bible of all standard and universally accepted definitions of personality disorders, and it recognizes 10 different types of them: narcissist, histrionic, antisocial, borderline, perfectionist, dependent, passive-aggressive, avoidant, schizoid, and paranoid. According to doctors and mental health workers, if it isn't noted in the DSM-4, then it isn't considered an accredited disorder. So very interestingly is that there are certain personality disorders that make for the best bullies in the workplace, and there is research to back this up, according to Strausner and Lee. A study conducted in the UK on personality disorder took place on high-level British executives in 2005. The outcome found these managers to fall mostly into 3 categories of disorders: the competitive and jealous histrionic, the selfish and exploiting narcissist, and the orderly and controlling obsessive compulsive. Even more profound and thought-provoking is that their personality types were to be found closely resembled to that of criminal psychopaths. Ironically, they found a slight yet significant difference between the high-level executives and the criminal psychopaths. The high-level executives were found to be seen as successful psychopaths, and the criminals as unsuccessful ones. Thoughts to ponder. Clive Boddy informs us of empirical research data that reveals strong positive and significant correlations between the ethical issues of bullying and unfair supervision in the workplace, and the presence of corporate psychopaths. He reports on research that shows that people with high scores on the psychopathy rating scale were more likely to engage in bullying, crime, and drug use than other people were, again indicating that psychopaths tend to be bullies. Now that we've talked about some of the issues related to workplace bullying, I would now like to talk about the personality types that perpetrators look for and the psychological damage they can cause. Perpetrators look for their targets in those personality types who are the least likely to respond to their belligerence. Like animals in the wild, they scour for the most vulnerable weakling in the pack. Despite the audacity, the negative bullying behaviors of those with personality disorders, such as the ones described, are often tolerated in the workplace, mainly because they're experts in their positions. Impressive is that research has shown bullying to be all-encompassing, rooted within groups and buried deep within organizational structures, often going unnoticed by people who even work closely together. Kimberly A. Parker of Bellarmine University interviewed some women who told horror stories of how their own personal experience of workplace bullying made them feel and how it had affected their lives. One of the women that she interviewed, who ironically worked in HR as a benefits coordinator, disclosed that it made her feel incompetent, second-guess herself, and it even made her physically ill. This tortured woman felt depreciated, and it made her question her ability to perform her job. Not only had it affected her mentally, it also affected her physically, causing her blood pressure to elevate to high levels from the stress. She learned to adapt and conform to it all until she finally couldn't take it anymore, leaving the organization for healthier opportunities. Other common emotional reactions among victims include symptoms of melancholy, apathy, lack of concentration, confusion, and helplessness, and even post-traumatic stress disorder. Workplace bullying really takes its toll on its targets, and oftentimes even affects entire departments. Workplace cultures that allow this kind of bullying to carry on create highly competitive domains, causing the targets to lose their core of support and ultimately make them appear defensive and invalid. With human resource departments making excuses and turning a blind eye to this obscured anomaly that no one wants to challenge due to the complex inter-office dealings such as chain of command issues, the blame game, deceit, and a very gray area within the laws of employment, it continues to affect the entire organization as a whole. More specifically, the undeserving victim who is just there to happily perform a job, but yet is forced to divergently navigate themselves through the roadblocks of corporate hell. After talking about the schoolyard nonsense and the impact that it has on the human psyche, I would now like to talk about the much needed enactment of a law to represent and protect the victims of bullying in the workplace. So, by the way, the United States is dead last among the Western democracies to democratize the workplace, according to the NAMES, regarding workplace bullying, as the goal around the globe is to get everyone from social media bloggers, news station, prestigious and well-recognized colleges, lobbyists, Congress, and others involved in creating a law that bans psychological bullying against employees. This movement in America began in mid-1997, informally and officially in January of 1998. David Yamada, professor at Suffolk University Law School in Boston, is the lead reformer inside the legal education community, and right alongside him and the rest of America are Gary and Ruth Namey, who are the pioneers of bringing this workplace anomaly to the forefront. Today I have discussed with you some of the problems with workplace bullying, the most popular personality types that perpetrators look for, and the psychological damage that they cause, as well as the need for a law to be enacted against psychological harm in the same way that OSHA protects us against physical harm in the workplace. Unfortunately, the act of workplace bullying spawned a costly, psychologically unhealthy, and toxic environment filled with personality disorders, leaving victims without much legal recourse and having to fit their cases within the law of other laws, such as harassment, when sometimes it's not harassment, it's bullying. It's just beyond belief that in a country as advanced and up to date as we are in America, we just cannot seem to catch up on the importance of stopping this disastrous epidemic. With as much research that has been produced in numerous empirical studies on the subject, journals, books, etc., one would think that this issue would have more attention than it does, but the truth of the matter is that until Congress will agree to pass a law against psychological harm in the workplace, it's going to continue to get worse. Although it is understandable that greedy lawmakers would put this issue on the back burner, after all, they have their own political agendas to succeed, but it is also our responsibility as individuals to make a difference and to keep on pushing until bullied victims are no longer afraid to go to work. Thank you.